रोकौँ न, अरूहरू पनि आउँदैछ।
एकछिन सर आउँदैछ भने
Few more minutes.
Okay. So I think our class Zoom will allow only 40 minutes. Yes? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then after 40 minutes, I think we'll have again 10 or 10 to 15 minutes remaining. So I will be posting same link and we can rejoin after some time. So I think this is my first class to your batch, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today we'll talk about the fluid and electrolyte balance. We are basically teaching you urology, but these are the basic things. So in clinical classes, the fluid and electrolyte balance is very important, not only in the surgery, in the medicine, on every subject. This is very important because to run the homeostasis of our life, the fluid and electrolytes has a main role. So whether you will be in surgery or medicine or gynecology, pediatrics, is hung in very tight balance. So electrolytes, little change in the electrolytes can cost life of patient. So this is very important, very sensitive, and it should be, your concept should be very much clear on this thing. Okay, today we'll talk about the fluid, a little bit of physiology, then in which conditions there is loss of fluid and how to manage that fluid, and electrolytes, how much balance we should be keeping the electrolytes, what are the major electrolytes we are teaching. To that things we will cover today. Okay, we'll start our class. So if you take, this is the pictures taken from, I think, from Savistron, is not your textbook. So this is the Western book. So if you take the Western standards, the percentage will be same, but they are of greater height and weight. So if you take a adult young male, then 60% of body is fluid. Okay, in the female it is 55%. Why it's so? Because the female have more fatty tissues, and that's why they have a little bit of less amount of fluid. So today our main focus is on fluid. So how they are kept in our body. The fluid can be remain in the body in two forms, like extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid. Okay, and extracellular fluid, we have 80% is interstitial fluid. So majority of fluid, so fluid which we see is blood. Okay, the blood is only 20%. The majority, 80% of fluid is between the cells. Interstitial means outside the cell. So 80% is interstitial and 20% is plasma, but 2/3 of the fluid that remain inside the cell. So if there is volume depletion, then first fluid we lose is extracellular, not the intercellular fluid. Okay, the first fluid which we lose is from maybe from diarrhea or vomiting or any other thing. Our extracellular fluid get compromised. So if you take 70 kg male, so this I already told you, this is a Western data. So 70 kg is not the average man in our part of the world, maybe 65 or 60. So in the 70 kg male, so we have got 1.4 liters plasma. Okay, 10 liters in female. Because of the volume, sorry. In those volume, 3.5 liter is a plasma. So this much is interstitial. So we have got 42 liters of fluid in our body, roughly. Maybe we have got a little bit less. In the female, there is 30 liters. So this is how our composition of fluid in our body. Now, so this is the revision of your physiology. Maybe you have studied in Gannon or Guyton. So what are the major organs that are involved in the homeostasis of fluid balance? From top to bottom, this is pituitary gland. So which secretes ADS, antidiuretic hormones. So very important hormones that maintain the fluid balance in our body. Another is below is hypothalamus. So this hypothalamus produces ADH, okay, and that gets secreted into the pituitary gland. So pituitary gland, as you know, in anatomy we have studied there is anterior and the posterior part. So anterior part, there are so many hormones that are secreted from anterior pituitary. The important here is ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. In the posterior, in the posterior pituitary, we have got storage form of ADS, antidiuretic hormone. It gets produced at hypothalamus and it is stored at the posterior pituitary. So this is very important. Other is thyroid gland. So normal level of thyroid hormone is very much important for the homeostasis of this thing, fluid. In heart, many of you are unaware of this. There is something called arterial natriuretic peptide (ANP) in the atrium of the heart. So it has also got significant role. We have got adrenal gland. Adrenal has cortex and medulla. The cortex secretes mineralocorticoids and medulla secretes epinephrine and norepinephrine. All these things, they have got very vital role in maintaining fluid and electrolyte balance. And at the end, kidney. So the final thing that gets secreted and excreted is from kidney. Okay, renin, aldosterone, and angiotensin aldosterone system is active in the kidney. So these are the major organs that are involved in the fluid and electrolyte balance. Okay. So how they work? So this is pituitary gland, anterior lobe, posterior lobe, hypothalamus, and this is capillary. So if there is osmolarity is increased, so I think you know what is osmolarity and what is osmolarity, then it will be sensed by this tract and there will be controlled production of antidiuretic hormone. So as its name indicates, antidiuresis means, diuresis literal meaning means to produce the urine. So antidiuresis means it will stop producing the urine. So when will we stop producing urine? So when we become thirsty, then this hormone will be increased. If we drink a lot of fluids, then this hormone will be decreased. So that is how it is getting detected at the capillary plexus in the pituitary gland, below the pituitary gland. That's how it works. So is it clear? So same thing happening at other level, like thirst, that is increasing in the osmolality and that is sensed by hypothalamus, and ADS hormone get decreased secretion. If there is increased secretion of antidiuretic hormone, then there will be reabsorption of water by the kidney. Okay, antidiuretic hormone. So it works directly in the kidney also. So this is very important chart. What is the relationship between fluid volume and the renal perfusion? There are two scenarios. In one scenario, there is low fluid level. If there is low fluid level, there is obviously decreased renal perfusion. Means blood flow in the kidney will be decreased. So what happened then? It will stimulate RAA system, means renin, angiotensin, aldosterone, that will release ADS secretion, ADS, anti like thirsty means ADS should be increased. So what happened? There will be vasoconstriction, and there will be, it will inhibit atrial natriuretic peptide from the heart. So exactly opposite happens when there is increased volume. So this is happening day to day in our life. So this reflects, or this process, if there is any violation, then what happens? The homeostasis of our body will be in trouble. So these are the basic things you should know, and if you want to have depth knowledge, then you should read the physiology book. Very nicely explained in Guyton or Gannon. Now, what is happening day to day life? We drink water and we lose water. So we only think that we lose water from urine. That is our mind, but that's not happening in the lungs. Like look at this. So 400 ml of water is lost in expired. Nearly half liter water we lose in 24 hours. But it depends upon where we stay. If you stay in the dry climate, then we lose more. If you stay in the humid climate, then we'll lose less. Okay, depends upon the atmosphere. Similarly, from sweating, we can lose from, depending upon the place and our profession and activity, we can lose 1 liter, 2 liter. Maybe a marathon runner will lose 2 to 3 liters. A boss in living in the AC suite will lose very negligible 400 500 ml. So depending upon these cases, even in feces we lose 60 to 150 ml. And obvious, I think we all know the urine, how much we lose, but minimum 400 ml is required to excrete all the metabolic waste product. So the loss of isotonic fluid from extracellular fluid at the rate exceeding intake. So if output is more than intake, then there will be volume depletion in the body. So in pathology now, there was a normal condition. Now when the disease occurs, there are different sources of fluid loss. Like most commonly we usually have from GI tract in the form of vomiting, diarrhea and bleeding. So if this occurs, then there will be fluid volume depletion. Skin, mostly we know that there is sweat, but bone is very notorious. The skin, if our outer protective layer is lost, then we lose so much of fluid from the skin. In the lung, we lose from evaporation as in normal conditions, but there is something called bronchoria, like somebody is in upper cough and cold. Okay, that's why what we say is during this cough and cold, upper respiratory tract infection, we should drink a lot of water to keep our body hydrated. Refusion, urine, somebody is taking diuretic drugs like in blood pressure. Osmotic diuresis means somebody taking any medicine that is causing osmosis. There are different conditions of kidney like nephropathies, hypoaldosteronism. All of these are known to cause loss of fluid from the urine. And another important point which you are not introduced is called sequestration in the body. Sequestration means hiding inside the body. It's called third space, so-called third space. So what is this? The first space is intravascular place. Second is between the cell, extracellular, and third is like we have in our body the potential space like peritoneum. Okay, pleural space. So in these conditions, if because of some pathology, the blood will be, I mean, fluid will be get accumulated there. Like if there is GI obstruction, then the fluid get obstructed between, sequestrated between the bowel loop. If there is pancreatitis because of generalized inflammation, the fluid be all over the body, this human body. Bleeding or cross injury, there will be accumulation of fluid there. So the patient will have only one or two complaint, like they are swelling of particular body, or they are having thirstiness or shortness of breath, so many vague symptoms. But what can happen, like if there is volume excess, then there will be weight gain. If it is deficit, then there will be weight loss. Skin torture, if there is deficit, then the decreased. What is skin torture? That is will be taught in clinical classes. That means when you pinch the skin, then it should go back immediately. You can try yourself. You pinch your skin, and if you leave it, it will go immediately back. But in dehydrated person, it will go back slowly. So in elderly people, you cannot apply this test. In the heart, there will be, if volume is deficit, then there will be tachycardia. Okay, there is hypotension, collapsed neck veins. The exactly opposite will happen if there is volume excess. There will be murmur. Urine is very informative in that sense. If there is decreased fluid, then urine output is very decreased. So whenever there is, should always ask for the urine output. That is very important, and it will give a lot of information whether they have adequate urine output or not. Azotemia means generalized swelling of the body. In GI tract, there can be ileus, means there is the paralysis of bowel, and there will be, if there is excess, then there will be edema in the bowel. In lungs, there can be edema also there. So these are the major symptoms we should be asking, like vomiting, diarrhea, diuretic use, polyuria. You should ask in this history, and symptoms can be patient is very lethargic, easy fatigability, thirst, muscle cramps, and postural dizziness. It can be generalized weakness, irritability, the muscle, sometimes seizure. If there is patient is hyponatremic, then patient can present with a seizure. We'll talk about this later on. And there will be muscle weakness, okay, confusion, all because of, so I mean, there is no specific symptom. There are vague symptoms if it is very complicated. So you should always be checking the vital signs like pulse rate, blood pressure, central venous pressure. So what is central venous pressure? It's a pressure which is the pressure in the central system, that is in the heart. Okay, there are certain limit, so it will give the direct evidence of how much fluid loss in the body. So similarly, if you move on to clinical examination, then we'll check the peripheries. It will be cold and calm. Skin torture will be very much lost. Urine output will be less. And if you send the urine, then specific gravity of the urine, and serum electrolyte and hematocrit. So these are done to look after the, I mean, this one, whether there is fluid loss or fluid deficit or fluid excessive fluid. Sorry. Where we okay, I think we are now. So these are the things. So I talk about the basic thing and how clinical the patient can present. So in the you'll be taught in clinical classes. So we make diagnosis on three bases like history, examination, and investigation. So these are three things. So we always start with the history. So history means we should take the history of fluid loss and fluid gain, and these are the typical thing where you examine the patient of fluid loss or fluid gain by this thing. And after you have diagnosed, you make diagnosis of whether the patient has fluid loss or gain. If there is fluid loss, then you should be giving the fluid. Okay. So how much fluid you should give? So that is the calculation that is required. Estimation of supplemental fluid. So that depends upon how much the rough. We cannot have an accurate condition, but we usually give estimate on the basis of how much fluid loss is from the drain, fistula, or NG tube, or from the urine or fecal loss. On that basis, we make a rough estimation. And there are so many types of fluid. What fluid should be given? That should be you should know about that. So if there is fluid deficit, then our aim is to give the fluid only. So before giving fluid, we have three criteria we make to give the fluid. So what are they? Maintenance requirement means we all normal people, we only require the maintenance, the minimum amount of fluid which a healthy person should have. So that is maintenance requirement, a pre-existing deficit. So that is the rough calculation. Look, somebody has diarrhea, somebody has a heat stroke, somebody has taken the drugs. So what are the deficiency these people have? So that is pre-existing deficiencies. And other is the supplemental fluid, means what extra fluid we should give. So calculating all these things, then only we will be able to tell the patient and treat the patient with the fluid therapy. So maintenance fluid is calculated approximately from estimation of insensible and the obligatory loss. Okay, where there are various formulas. The rule of thumb what they give is like 30 to 40 ml per kg. So this is the one of the calculation. So patient is 50 kg, then 5 4s are 20. So you maybe get 2 liters a day. So that is calculation of maintenance fluid. So we divide fluid into three types, like hypertonic, isotonic, and hypotonic. So what does this mean? So this means that our body has normal tonic. I mean, if you compare the osmolarity in our body, then if you say that this is something like 280 millimole to 300. So this is the standard control one. So any fluid that is more osmolarity, then it is called hypertonic. Tonicity is more, hyper. Iso means same as our body. The plasma or has kind of osmolarity or tonicity, then the fluid that is similar to that is isotonic. The fluid that is more dilute than that, then it is called hypotonic. So this is how the fluid are calculated. So if you do the experiment, then if you put any blood cell like the RBC in the hypertonic, then what will happen? All the water inside that cell will go out, and there will be shrinkage of the cell. If we put that cell in hypotonic, maybe in water, plain water, we put that fluid in plain water, what will happen? All the water will flow from outside. The water will always travel from hyper concentrated, less concentration to the more concentrated fluid. So they will go outside, and there will be shrinkage. If you put in hyper concentration, hypotonic saline, then the fluid will go inside this cell, then it will burst. Okay, this is exactly what happens in our body also. If somebody has drink hypertonic fluid, then what will happen? They will all go inside the cell, okay, and there will be shrinkage. Similarly, opposite will happen if we put hypertonic saline. So there are many kind of fluids. Most commonly used, you should know what is normal saline. Now you are in clinical thing, and two things you should always learn. This is normal, NS means normal saline, and RL means ringer lactate. So this is the name of the fluid. Okay, the patient they want to have the saline in their body. Okay, so these are the fluid. So this normal saline and ringer lactate, they are very much similar to the concentration of the fluid in our body. So that's why they are called isotonic. And hypotonic, we make, if concentration is half, then is a 1/2 normal saline. And hypertonic means we got 2%, 3% normal saline. So they are hypertonic. On the basis of concentration, we have got hypotonic, isotonic, and the hypertonic. On the basis of how they are made, what the particle size of the suspension there can be colloid and crystalloid. Okay, two kind of basis of size of the particle in that fluid. We basically categorize them as a colloid and the crystalloid. Okay, so our remaining meeting time is 8 minutes. So then we have to continue other one. Okay. So difference between colloid and crystalloid. Okay, colloid, they have got the bigger size molecule. Crystalloid, they are very tiny molecule. Okay, bigger size. Suppose this is the blood vessels. This one is the blood vessel, and we put the colloid here. So what happened? The osmolarity of this part is increased. So fluid from outside will go inside. It will absorb the fluid because their big molecules are there. The crystalloid happen. Then if you put crystalloid in the body, the fluid will go from this container to outside. So understand? Colloid, they are more osmolarity and more oncotic pressure is there. So fluid they will attract the fluid. Whereas crystalloid, the fluid go outside from their container. So this is the difference between the colloid and the crystalloid. I think it's very simple. This is thing which you study in the chemistry in the +2 days. So the difference between crystalloid and colloid is the size of the particle. Okay, large particles are in the colloid and very tiny crystallizable particles are in the crystalloids. Now, which fluid we should give? So that is a bit of debate, but the preferable one is the crystalloid. So whenever there is fluid requirement, what fluid we should give? Either we should give normal saline or ringer lactate. There are some conditions where you have to give colloid, but most of the time, almost always, we always give crystalloid. These are normal saline and ringer lactate. Okay, the word, the fluid of choice is always a crystalloid first. This is the chart from Bailey and Love. In the exam, you will be asked the concentration. What is there? If you go to the ward and the OT, you can see the patient is getting water. Okay, it's like a water, but what is there? Hartmann solution means, this means the ringer lactate RL. So it has got 1 liter of ringer lactate, we have 131 millimole of sodium, this much potassium, calcium, chloride. Whereas in normal saline, we have got sodium and chloride. Okay. Similarly, we have these are all the types of fluids. Okay, I just told you 2 types only, types of, and we have got these 2 are the crystalloid. This is also dextrose saline crystalloids, hemacyl, hetastarch, they are the colloid. Okay, so this is one chart we should follow in the Valiant law. Now,
सर नॉर्मल सलाइन में 0.9% NaCl लेखे छ अनि क्लोराइड हुँदैन त
केमा हुन्छ हो? What do you want to say? Normal saline मा
सर नॉर्मल सलाइन में 0.9 NaCl लेखिरहेछ भने क्लोराइड कन्सन्ट्रेसन हुँदैन भने
Okay, 0.9% is the concentration. Okay, त्यसमा चाहिँ chloride हुन्छ यसमा, sodium and chloride, these are the salt. Okay, got it? It has sodium and chloride, normal saline. You mean in this chart it is not mentioned? You mean to say that?
yes sir yes
No. So this has got sodium and chloride. This is potassium you don't find there. Okay, they have got sodium and chloride only.
पोटासियम हुँदैन सर त्यहाँ
Potassium, no potassium. In RL only we have got potassium. Okay.
ओके थ्यांक यू सर ओके थ्यांक यू सर
Now, the potassium, these are very vitals for our hemostasis, but we need energy also. This potassium will not give energy. So layman what will think, if they get a bottle of normal saline, they will be very energetic. It's not in that way, but we put dextrose also there. You know, dextrose is a glucose. So in post-operative period, we keep the patient NPO. We don't allow them to eat for maybe 2 hours or sometimes for 2 days, 3 days, but your body required energy also. So that is fulfilled from the dextrose. So that's why we have got this thing, dextrose saline. So dextrose will give the energy, and this sodium and potassium, they will give necessary hemostasis in the body. Okay. Now, 1 liter of 5% dextrose will have 400 kilocalorie of energy. So average person will normally not that manual worker, they will have around 2000 to 2500 kilocalorie requirement. So 1 liter will give 400 only. So that's how we make rough calculation. So we talk about the controversy about crystalloid and colloid, but at your level, the first liquid which we choose is the crystalloid, that is normal saline or ringer lactate. Okay. So this, how to calculate the fluid. So this is the rule which you should always learn, 4-2-1 rule. So what is that? So suppose if patient is 30 kg, so how will we calculate? The first 10 kg on the basis of 4 ml per kg per hour. So that is 40 ml, first 10 kg. I'm talking about 30 kg person. So next 10 kg will have 2 ml per kg per hour. Okay, that is 20 ml per hour. And the remaining one is 1 ml per kg, so 30 means 10 ml per kg per hour. That means 40, 60, 70 ml per hour. So 70 ml per hour is the requirement of 30 kg. So got it, is very important. You should understand this. If there is 60 kg, 70 kg, then the first 20 kg is fixed. After that, it is only calculated on the basis of 1 ml per kg per hour. So everybody, you understand this formula? If there is any confusion, then you can ask me right now. Clear, everybody? So I think we're almost finishing our first session. I will be starting giving you the link, and you will always